Hey guys, welcome to our video on skeleton forts in Sea of Thieves. In this video we're going to be going over many things such as what the in-game skeleton forts are, how you can complete them, the fastest ways to complete them, why you would want to complete them, and just overall the most efficient way to complete them. We're not going to waste any of your time, so let's get straight into the video. Now, what are skeleton forts? Skeleton forts are an in-game world event, very similar to skeleton fleets or the Flameheart. They have a random chance to be spawned in your server. What you have to do to complete these are go through waves of skeletons fighting different types of skeletons such as shadow skeletons or tropical skeletons, golden skeletons. We'll go more into them in just a minute, but you have to go through waves of skeletons, and once you go through multiple waves you will come across a mini boss, and once you defeat him you'll get another 2 mini bosses. Once you defeat him, you'll get to the main skeleton lord. Upon defeating the skeleton lord, you will be rewarded with the stronghold key and the stronghold skull. Now, the stronghold key is used to open up the stronghold vault kept at the very heart of the fort, and this is where your high tier loot is going to be, such as stronghold chests, stronghold skulls, crates of ancient bone dust. They typically take around 15 to 20 minutes on a good run if you do it most efficiently. They can take 10 minutes, but that really just depends on how efficiently you're taking out the waves. But I'd say roughly for an average player, they would probably take about 20-25 minutes. Before we get into what the types of skeletons are in this game, we're going to be showing some bloopers throughout the video of funny things that just happened along the way, stupid mistakes that we made while completing the forts and that kind of stuff. So make sure to stay tuned in order to see them. Now, we'll actually get into how you can actually identify if there's a fort on your server. If there is a skull fort on your server, you will very easily notice this, as there will be a big skull cloud in the sky. Now, in order to efficiently farm these, what you're going to want to do is load into a server, run out of the tavern, look around in the sky, and if you see a flame heart or if you see an ashen winds, then just leave and go into another server, as there can only be one world event up at a time, and the skull fort is a world event, so if there's a flame heart there can't be another skull fort. So basically just look up in the sky, if you see a skull, stay in, go to the skull. If you don't, leave the server, go into a new lobby. This is called server hopping. Now, onto the types of skeletons. The first skeleton we're going to be talking about is the shadow skeleton. Now, what is the shadow skeleton? The shadow skeleton is basically a skeleton which cannot be dealt damage if it is nighttime, unless it is lit up by a source of light. So if they spawn at nighttime and you try and deal damage to it using your sword or your gun or a gunpowder barrel, it won't take any damage. It just won't. So you need to light it up using one of your lanterns, or I think that's the only way actually. Yeah. But if they spawn in daytime, then they will be solid, they will be able to be dealt damage. So these skeletons, their strength is the nighttime and the shadows, so they cannot take damage, and they can damage you, but they can't take any damage. And their weakness is obviously light, as obviously if you shine a light onto a shadow, the shadow disappears. So using a light against it is required if it is nighttime in order to defeat these skeletons. Next up on the list is the tropical skeleton. Now, we'll go through its strengths and weaknesses first this time. Its strength is water. If the skeleton is in water, you will hear this kind of chime, wind chime sound, and you'll see that they actually brighten in colour. This is because if these skeletons are in water, they regenerate health. So you want to avoid fighting these skeletons in water. Just keep them away from water at all times. Now, obviously their weakness is the fact they're made of plants. That means they're very weak. So it's 3 sword swings typically, down from the 4 or 5 which it would take for the other skeletons. It just means they're very brittle and very easy to defeat if they aren't in water. Next up are the gold skeletons. Now, these gold skeletons, very simply, they move very slowly, they take a lot of damage to kill, and you can't sword them. Well, you can sword them, it will just take you a lifetime in order to kill them, because once you hit them once, you get stunned. So, what are their weaknesses? Their weakness? is water. You throw water on it, they slow down even more, and you will see that they start to rust, and they can be one blundered or sniped twice and they will die. Whereas if they weren't like rusty, they would take 2 blunders point blank. So obviously its strength is that they are really tough and hard to kill, but once exposed to water, they are very, very easy to defeat. Lastly are the normal skeletons, the 4th type of skeletons. Very simply, they have no strength or weakness. They just have a different colour bandana depending on what part of the map you're in. So if you're in Ancient Isles, it may be like green bandana, or if you're in the Shores of Plenty, it'll be like a red bandana or something. I don't actually know the colours, I'm sorry, I haven't done my homework. But that's all it is, it's just a difference in bandanas. No strength, no weakness, 4 or 5 sword swings, done. Lastly, while taking out any of these skeletons, you're going to be wanting to run the blunderbuss sword combo, as the sword gives you unlimited ammo. It's very good on the tropical skeletons, as tropical skeletons don't take very much gun damage, and their weakness is obviously the sword, and you can take them out very quickly with that. And the blunderbuss, very good for the golden skeletons, the shadow skeletons, the final boss. It just has a high damage output and is a lot more effective than the sniper or flintlock, because on this you won't be getting very many, if any, gunpowder skeletons spawning. So once you've completed all of the waves of skeletons, you will be presented by this music. I hope you enjoyed Sam's impression. Now, once you hear this music, this means you're on the final wave, you're getting the final Skeleton Lord boss, and obviously once you defeat him, you get the Stronghold Key, and the Stronghold Skull, and the Stronghold Key unlocks the Stronghold Vault, etc, etc. So, the fastest way in order to defeat this Skeleton Lord is by using 12 gunpowder barrels. This will insta-kill the boss one shot. It's either 12 or 15, I believe it's 12. If it's not 12, try 15. And that will just one-shot the boss, wave over, completely done. But if you don't have access to these barrels, or if you've used them on the golden skeletons because it's easier or whatnot, then you can try and lure the boss down to the side of your ship and cannon him, because this will deal massive amount of damage, more than a blunderbuss could. It just has a higher damage output per second. I think it, if I remember off the top of my head, I think it takes like 30 to 40 cannonballs. So it's a lot quicker than just sitting there blunderbussing, running and getting ammo, or sitting there swording, because you don't take damage either. Unfortunately, you may not be able to cannon them or use all of the gunpowder barrels, so you'd have to resort to hand-to-hand, one-to-one combat. And this is where you need to sort of know the different attacks that the Skeleton Lords can do, and for you less skilled players out there, this is where you may struggle the most. Now, the attacks they can do is using their flintlock and their blunderbuss, very simple, but their other attacks are sort of, well, the other attack I should say is one where it's kind of like a mega blast, where they sort of push the air to the side and it sends you flying backwards and deals great amounts of damage, where if you're stood next to them when they do this action, you will get one shot dead. So you need to be very careful when they're doing that. It's a pretty easy animation to recognize when they're about to go into this attack. You'll pick it up with time. I should have some footage playing of what it actually looks like. And its other sort of evasive maneuver is where the skeleton boss just goes into the ground and pops up somewhere else. Each different boss, there are 4 different bosses, have a different way of disappearing into the ground, but you'll be able to pick up on it once you've seen it once or twice, so don't you worry. In order to complete forts in the fastest way possible, there are going to be some forts which you want to avoid. Now, so the forts that you want to avoid go as followed. Lost Gold Fort. This is very bad, very, very, very bad, as you can't cannon on it, it's a tall island, and there's way too many bushes that skeletons just get lost, and you just don't know what's going on. Next up is Hidden Spring Keep, as this is quite a tall fort, and it's got a water pool in the middle. There's no real places to cannon from, it's surrounded by rocks, it is just not very accessible or easy to maneuver around. Kraken's watchtower is also not great as there's nowhere to cannon from. It's not a very big island, but it's also very narrow and there's not a lot of space. In fact, I would almost argue that it's too small of a fort. It's just too cramped. You can die a lot of times from kegs, just getting trapped in corners. It's not a great island to complete the fort on. And lastly, one of the worst forts, the Crow's Nest Fortress. Just too big, too tall, rocks everywhere. Yeah, there are some cannoning spots, but in general, it's just, it's a disgusting fort to fucking, it's a disgusting fort. Now, some of the best forts are Keel Hall Fort, as this is a very open one. You can't really get trapped anywhere. You have a lot of maneuverability, a lot of barrels, so you can replenish food easily. This is a very good fort. Next up is Sharkfin Camp. Easy places to cannon from. Large island or large fort, but very flat, so it's easy transportation times, and there's a lot of maneuverability, much like Keel Hall, as there is a water pool in the middle which is very shallow. And lastly, Sailor's Knots is a pretty decent fort, as there's one spot which you can cannon from, which is very easy to clump up skeletons into. It's a very good choke point. It's a little bit tall, but it's not massively tall. There are other forts in the game, but I'm not going to go over them as it's just too much information, and we won't even touch on the Molten Sands Fortress, mainly because that's just super rare and it's bloody terrible. Well, that about wraps up for this video. We hope you've enjoyed, we hope you've learned something new, and yeah, we hope you've enjoyed the video. Please remember to leave a comment, let us know what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, subscribe, leave a like, all that kind of stuff. Just give us your feedback. We're eager to try and produce more content which you guys will love and which will help you out. Other than that, this has been us. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye. This is ridiculous. Oh my god.
I ain't got a pistol, so I'll sacrifice.
I'll set him off with this. Just take the skelly away.
Won't get off your back.
Fucking hell.
Nice. That's why we just shot it. So it's a sacrifice. One of us sacrificed.
Well, we both sacrificed for nothing.
Yeah, very nice.
We gon' kill him.
I'm gonna die.
Same. Yep. It's because I can't be bothered to grab food.
No, I can't believe it. I just want to try and kill him before I die. Would be a terrible idea.